a visitor pop round could make the world of difference if you're one of the 4 million people who admit to struggling with chronic loneliness. It's an issue that's getting worse in the UK. So I went to find out about how some of the life-changing schemes can help people feel less alone.
In 2022, almost half the UK population reported feeling lonely at times, and almost 4 million people experienced chronic loneliness, meaning they regularly felt isolated.
Do you know what? We've forgotten the art of conversation. We've forgotten how to say how we feel. Loneliness is at epidemic proportions in this country, and it can affect anybody at any age, at any stage in their life.
83-year-old Ron Cowling knows that all too well. For almost 10 years, he's been classified as blind, which has impacted his ability for social interactions.
A lot of people suffer with loneliness. Is that something that you feel?
To be perfectly honest, there is the odd day when I do. I mean, say I'm surrounded by friends and family, but they're not here. They're where they live.
People of all ages find that loneliness is the hardest thing to talk about.
Oh, it is. It is hard to talk about it. But
why do you think that is, Ron?
I suppose really, from my point of view, is I don't want people to think that I'm feeling sorry for myself. When I used to work on the buses, being a bus conductor, you're talking to people all day long. I like talking to people. It's come to the stage now, unless someone takes me out once a week, I can't go out the house. It's like being in a prison.
But Ron is living proof that if you can take that step of asking for help, good things can happen. After speaking with Age UK, Ron was put on their Community Connection scheme, where he met volunteer John. The pair have now been friends for 8 years.
I come here once a week and we have a chat.
Has it, in a way, helped you as well?
Volunteering has been very important to me because it's got me out and about. I've met lots of interesting people, like Ron. It's given my life a sense of purpose.
It don't cost nothing to ask for help, but it's, to a certain degree, it's down to the individual. Do they want to live in loneliness for the rest of their life, or do they want to do something about it?
It's the small things that make a difference. The things that we often take for granted. Going out to a local cafe once a week when the only other time you leave home is a medical appointment.
It's amazing how much difference a simple conversation can make. And helping people to take the first step is something TfL is also trying to encourage with its chatty cabins on the IFS Cloud cable car. Mark Evers is the Chief Customer Officer at TfL.
The chatty cabins provide an opportunity for Londoners to come down and get chatting to one another, a chance to get out and socialise.
But how important is it for public transport to be on board with this?
Well, that's what public transport's there for. It's to enable people to get out and see and talk to other people.
I'm giving it a go, and my chatty partner for the ride is Holly Cook.
All right, let's get on.
After moving to London in 2018, Holly struggled to find a community. She founded the Lonely Girls Club.
I moved here for work. I didn't know anyone. It gets lonely really quickly, and then finding people is such a struggle, and that's where the Lonely Girls Club was born.
The group now has over 60,000 members, not entirely surprising when statistics show that loneliness is now most common in 16 to 24-year-olds, single people and women.
How did you feel when you were lonely?
It was awful. I think it impacted so many areas of my life. You know, it impacts your mental health, your physical health, and stepping outside of that and being able to just say, yes, I am lonely. What can I do about that? Is such a challenge a lot of the time, but it's so good when you're able to identify that, because then you can make steps.
Encouraging that first step of asking for help has meant Holly's club has now branched out to 2 other cities.
We help women to connect, to meet up, hang out, make friends and make life less lonely. Saying the word lonely feels so taboo, but actually for us it's saying, yeah, well, we did feel lonely, but we don't want to stay lonely.
What advice would you give somebody of any age if they feel alone?
For some people, it's going to be finding others in person, connecting around a topic or a theme or a club that's interesting to them. If you're someone, though, that's maybe more anxious, connecting with online communities. So everyone's got something they love, and there's probably a community, whether it's online or physical.
I've come to meet with Nancy Hay, Executive Director of the What Work Centre for Wellbeing.
So today I've met an older gentleman, I've met a young girl, and loneliness is a thing no matter what age.
Yeah, I think that's really true. What we found is that, yes, people are lonely at all ages. It's where it's often or always feeling lonely, that's chronic loneliness, where we start to worry about other problems that are associated with it. Loneliness is often associated with poorer physical and mental health. Things like it can affect your sleep, which can affect your mental health, and it can also increase your stress levels.
Nancy and her team have spent more than 10 years exploring ways to reduce chronic loneliness.
So there are some things that we know work for all ages. Feeling close to other people literally helps you feel more confident, feel better about yourself and more cheerful. Connection and chatting in a community or a school or a teacher noticing them and saying hello really does make a difference. Just the small moments of positive social connection really do help. Things like mentoring, peer support, that also helps improve the loneliness of those who are befriending and volunteering and mentoring as well.
So it's a double whammy.
Yeah, really great.
Today has been eye-opening for me. This is a project I feel passionate about. We have to do something about tackling loneliness. It's about talking about it. It's about talking to other people. But most importantly, it's about realising within yourself that you feel lonely.
If you are feeling lonely, you can do something about it. And there are organisations out there that can help you. It makes a world of difference to your life.
Oh, you know, Gabby, just listening to Ron there and the impact spending time with John, the volunteer, has had on his life, it just reminds you, doesn't it, that breaking the taboo around loneliness, which is something you are so passionate about, is key, because it impacts everybody, all ages.
It really does, and I think a lot of people think it's just the elderly who are lonely and they don't want to admit they're lonely. And it's, as you say, breaking the taboo, but this is all ages. I've had messages, I've had thousands of messages from people since I've started talking about it, and people who are 10, people who are 16, people in their 30s, people in their 50s who the kids have left home. But admitting that you're lonely is the first step. And it's a very, very difficult word to say. Yeah. But the most important thing, and Dr. Zahn, I know you'll back me up on this, is talking. If you can talk to somebody, now I know a lot of people don't want to necessarily talk to a friend or a family member, or they don't have anybody around they can talk to. So there are many charities that are there for you. Obviously, there's Silverline, there's Samaritans, there's Mind, and many others. But it's not just the mental health, it's physical health, isn't it, Dr. Zahn? There's a whole medical side around loneliness as well.
Yes, so loneliness has an enormous impact on your physical health. And when I was a doctor working in A&E, we would see very frequently people coming in with things like blood pressure so high it looked like a medical emergency. And as you unpick the story of their life, you know, and talk to them, you could see the blood pressure coming down and these results of loneliness. Because when you're isolated, it makes social encounters much, much more stressful. So that thing that you've been emphasising so beautifully in the film, that proximity to other people, is relaxing as you get used to it, but it takes time. So the first step, talking, massively, massively important.
Yes, please do. And details of organisations offering information and support are available on bbc.co.uk/actionline. And as we say, please break this taboo. If you feel lonely, tell somebody that's how you're feeling.